Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids and we are in our 11th year homeschooling. I'm also the owner and author behind townsendhouse.com, where I help you implement systems and strategies in order to overcome the chaos and cultivate simplicity in your home and homeschool. Today is going to be part 2 of my PowerSheets prep work. If you did not see the first part of my PowerSheets prep, then I will leave a link for you in the description box. If you've never even heard of the PowerSheets before, I will also leave a link of my entire walkthrough of the 2022 PowerSheets Goal Planner. So let's get started. At the end of part 1, I was going through my Cultivated Life evaluation, where you give yourself a grade 1 to 10 on how you think you're doing in the 8 areas that are listed in the PowerSheets. And then you're supposed to write a few sentences or bullet points about why you gave yourself that grade. When I went through to do it, I wrote why I gave myself the grade and then also a few ideas on things that I could improve in the future. And I thought that that was very helpful for me. I got a little bit ahead of myself though, because a couple pages in the future of the PowerSheets, I was also writing some similar things. So the next thing that is right after the Cultivated Life evaluation is this good things and people I'm grateful for page, and then challenges and what I learned. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through and just write down some of the good things that happened in this past year. What worked for you? What were the things that you did really well and you're proud of and you want to continue doing or improving in the future? So some of the things that really worked for me: reading for fun, homeschool planning, video creation. I've done a ton of video in 2021. Relaxed mornings, that was really important to me until the fall when we started band at the public school. And then the relaxed mornings kind of went out the window. My main homeschool network Facebook group has been doing really well. My Townsend House community email community that I have also going really well. I got into a better cleaning routine. Budgeting was better, though not where I want it to be. Walks with the kids. We went on so many walks this year. It has been really wonderful to just get outside. We had a beautiful fall. It was so warm, so there was a lot of outside time, which I love. 10 a.m. read alouds, that was kind of when it just worked for us to do the bulk of my reading to the kids each day. Then habit stacking, CSA was really good this year. Planning days, it worked for me. However, again, once I got to the fall, I really struggled keeping the day because of the scheduling with the middle school was challenging. Less screen time was really good. Analog, I did mostly analog stuff. I wasn't doing too much digital. And then birthdays. My dog is barking, so I have to go get her. I'll be right back. The next list is people I'm grateful for, and you just want to write anybody that you are grateful for and the things that they have done in your life over the past year. And mine is mainly my family and my friends. Those are the people that I typically will write on this list. The next page is challenges. What didn't work in the last year? It says, what didn't work to help you live on purpose in the last 12 months, and what needs improvement? The things on this list are fresh starts in the making. And so the first thing that I wrote on my list was public school band. It has been an incredible challenge to manage all of our homeschooling with the public school band schedule. And so we are making a lot of changes for 2022. I will talk about those at a later time. That was a struggle for me. What did not work that great were my morning and evening routines. Now, I do have a morning and evening routine, and they were very stripped down and not exactly what I would like. Usually in my better years, I wake up before my kids, I have hot coffee, I have time to journal and read my Bible, and work and do a lot of things before they wake up. However, this year I started letting myself sleep in a little bit more. My kids have been sleeping in later and later, so it just worked. I did not have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to feel like I was ready to go for the day. And yes, I have spent years getting up that early. And so by the time I would wake up, because I don't set an alarm unless we really have to be someplace and I need to be up super early, I would sleep in, and then my kids would be getting up pretty much around the same time that I was getting up, and we would immediately start eating, and Emma would immediately have to start Spanish and algebra before we got in the car to go to band and to do all of our homeschool stuff. So mainly my morning routine has not been very effective in the fall. In the spring, summer, it was really pretty relaxed, and it wasn't as much of it didn't have as much of an impact on me. It's a lot of words, I know. Morning routine and evening routine are things that I really find important, but have not been successful with, in my mind, over the past probably 2 years. So the evening routine is something that I have never been super successful at because I kind of hit a wall right after dinner. I don't have anything else in me. So my evening routine has essentially been jotting a couple of lines in my pocket planner about the day and reading. And those are my main 2 evening routine things. So I guess it has worked pretty well, but I definitely have some things that I want to improve on. Meal planning, I need to get back to better food prep. I've kind of been flying by the seat of my pants again in the fall because I'm so busy, because we have been so busy during the day. I have less time to get things done, and then our weekends have been also very busy. Either we do a family thing, or I am trying to catch up on all the work that I haven't been able to do during the week because we've been going so much due to band and homeschool. Margin separation from work. For me, I've spent a lot more time working this year. Not that that's a bad thing. I really am passionate about what I do. I love to help other homeschool moms cultivate simplicity in their life. It's a passion of mine. That's why I do it. But I have noticed, especially in my main homeschool network Facebook group, I am spending an enormous amount of time there all the time. I used to be really good at having dedicated blocks of time where I'm working. That's kind of gone out the window this past year, and really for 2020 as well, because it's been so crazy, and that online community is a lot of my own personal community as well. So I find joy there, but I also know that I do not need to spend nearly as much time there as I do right now. Weekends, they were either super busy or completely unproductive. Like, we would either be getting so much stuff done that we had on our list, everybody going in 10 different directions, or I would hit a wall and be so exhausted because the previous weeks and weekends were so busy that I just couldn't do anything, and that's not fun, obviously. So I need to work on margin this year. I need to work on time blocking again, things that I've been super successful with in the past, but this life stage is a little bit different and I need to make a bunch of adjustments. Those are some things that I will be working on in the new year. The garden, I did not plan to garden this year, which it was kind of a bummer for me. And I feel like I was sick around when we usually plant, and then we had like a ton of rain, and I felt like I really missed the window of when I could plant everything. So that was a bummer. It's something that Jack and I really love to do together. It's something that I'm going to be working on this winter, starting seeds at home, and hopefully getting a really good plan in place now that we are here. Although in the fall, I did not put our gardens, I didn't amend them or put compost down or anything like that. So the spring's going to be pretty busy getting the garden beds prepped and ready for planting. Food preservation, because I did not have the garden, I didn't really do much food preservation. That's something that I enjoy and want to work on in the new year. Budget, my budget worked because I was paying my bills. You know, we cash flowed everything that we needed to, but there are definitely some areas that I can work on with the budget. I need a new system. I need to do better tracking for savings and spending, and that's something that I need to work on this year. That's part of the reason that I'm hoping to use an Erin Condren monthly planner for financial planning, something that I was going to try and set it up on video and share what I'm doing, just kind of because I'm not really a paper planner for finances. So we'll see how that goes if I actually get it set up and share that with you guys. And then what I learned, it says big or small, what did the good and the challenging from last year teach you? What lessons can you use as you move forward into a new year? The first thing I learned, slow is better. It works best for my family. Slow does not necessarily mean easy and lots of leisure time. It just means slowing down. That means I'm cooking from scratch. It means we wait to spend money on big purchases until we've saved up enough for it, instead of borrowing from savings or putting it on a credit card, which we don't do that anymore, thankfully. You know, slow food, the cooking from scratch stuff, taking the time to sit with the kids and read and play board games and puzzles and just enjoy each other that way. Slow just works for my family. We need to protect our margin. That's a big one for me, especially with the homeschooling. It's very easy because we're homeschooling to say that we have extra time to do extra things, but we really have not had any extra time this year, starting in the fall of 2021 school year, partly because of public school band and partly because Emma is doing some high school courses that are pretty time intensive. So we need to protect our margin. And my kids really want connection over all of the activities and stuff. We don't really participate in sports. We haven't since 2019, I guess, is when my kids had been doing tennis. And before that, you know, Emma did basketball and Jack's done basketball and baseball in elementary school and all kinds of different things, but we haven't really been doing any of that over the past couple of years. And they do want to participate in some of those things, but I notice that when we do get them involved, it's fun for like a couple of weeks and then they're not really interested in continuing it. So I've got to figure out some different ways to give them some fun things to do, but maybe not have it be as regimented or scheduled. But unfortunately, it's hard because most of the kids in our area and most of my kids' friends participate in sports, and so there's not a lot of extra time to just hang out because everybody's doing sports 4 or 5 days a week, and then, you know, they don't want to spend another day away. They want to be at home with their own families. So it's a little bit challenging. So those are some of the things that I learned and some of the challenges this year. And then you get into this get ready to break free section. We're so quick to limit ourselves, deciding who we are, who we aren't, and what we can and cannot do. These beliefs about ourselves, our lives, and the people and tools around us affect how we spend our time and the goals we will or will not achieve. So it asks, where do you feel stuck? What lies have you believed about yourself or your life? This, again, similar to the comparison section, I don't struggle with too much as far as putting myself in a box or thinking things about myself. The biggest, I guess, struggle that I have is thinking that I don't have enough time. And sometimes that is accurate, especially during busy seasons. We've been super busy this fall. I know a lot of people have super busy seasons. And so feeling like you don't have enough time it can be an actual truth, or it can be that, you know, you're wasting time by just randomly doing stuff or maybe not working as efficiently as you can. So that is the biggest sticking point for me, is not having enough time. So I am making a bunch of adjustments for 2022. I will share those later. Just remembering, I have the same 168 hours to do the things I choose that others do. It is up to me to decide how to spend that time or let outside forces control that time. I really believe that whether you're actively choosing to do something or you're passively doing something, it's still a choice. And there are always going to be times when you hit a wall and you just need to totally veg out and scroll through Instagram or something like that. But if you're constantly doing that, that's a problem. Or if you are fitting in so many things in your time that you're not able to do the things that matter most to you, that is also another thing that you need to make an adjustment for. I'm not saying that people who are busy have a problem. I'm not saying that at all. Some people really thrive being busy, and some people who are busy are doing the things that they're passionate about. But for me, I need to make adjustments to the busyness that we as a family and individually I am not passionate about. So it's just protecting our time and money, two very finite resources. You only have a certain amount of time, and you want to use it well. So reevaluating my time, that is something that I need to work on this year. And so that was kind of my identity box, but it's not really. I mean, when they're talking about an identity box, they're saying, maybe you want to learn to sew, but you're not a very crafty person. And so you say, I can't do this because I'm not a crafty person. But that's not true. It's just a skill that you don't have yet. Or one that Laura Casey has said a lot is that she used to tell herself she couldn't do the money side of her business because she wasn't good with finances. And when you continuously tell yourself these things, it makes it so it is true. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you want to not have those limiting beliefs. You want to maybe have more I am statements like, I am great with numbers, or I am committed to learning a new skill, or something like that. So that's kind of my identity box. Again, some of these pages I use differently than what maybe their purpose is, but that is, you use what you have and you adjust it to what you need. The next page is who I really am. Your weaknesses can become your strengths. What would happen if you flipped the script on the lies you've believed? What if your too much or not enough became just right? Write a few lines about the person you'd be free to be if you set aside the opinions of others. And again, I wrote, thankfully, I don't struggle with how others view me. I know who I am, and the only person that limits that is myself. But over the years, I've become much better about seasons and realizing that no matter how much I plan, things happen. It is my reaction to those things that determines my path, not what others believe about me. So I know that there are going to be seasons where life is crazy. There are going to be seasons of stress or busyness or overwhelm. And it is how I react to those seasons that really put me on a path. And the only thing I can do is to continue to move forward and try to have the best attitude that I can. That's something that I learned at a very young age. I was in a car accident when I was 15. I was in the hospital. I was at Shriners Burns Hospital for 7 weeks, I think, and had, all kinds of stuff. It was an ordeal, but it really taught me that what others think about me or believe about me is not what matters. It only really matters what I think about me and who I know that I am. And then, you just have to have a positive attitude. Is it easy? No, there's obviously a lot of struggle. And there are times when my attitude is really bad, but I try to improve it, and I just try to move forward and look at the next step. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. It can be a tiny little step forward to make an improvement. And so that's kind of my focus. I don't like to think of all of the bad things. I try to, even though I am pretty cynical and very pessimistic, I do try to continue to move forward and just little steps to improve. The next section, I'm moving past fear. My fears, I fear that I won't make progress or that I will get stuck on bigger steps, not knowing how to break them down further. If I were to step into my fears and take action, I would feel empowered and alive. Again, I don't have a ton of fears. I mean, general fears like the health and safety of my kids and my husband, but for the most part, I try not to live a fear-based life. I try to move forward and think positively about the direction that I want to go in. I try to imagine what I want my life to be and then just make sure that I'm taking those steps to do that. I know it sounds, I don't know, maybe it sounds a little hokey that you can do that, but I really do believe that those little steps that you take make such a huge difference, and just shifting your mindset, it really does work. The next section, these days are your legacy. Check all that apply to you. So I checked, I often describe myself as busy. Being present can be challenging. My mind is in a million places. This is why I'm a list maker, because I am constantly thinking about all of the things. And when I write it down, either in my planner or in a brain dump notebook, I feel like I'm giving myself permission to let that thought go. It's better for me. For a long time, I just always kept all of that stuff in my head. And even now, sometimes, even after I've written it down, I'm still thinking about it, thinking, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? I feel like I'm always trying to keep a million balls in the air. So that is a little bit of a struggle for me, but it is something that I have found some strategies over the past decade or so that help improve how things are going. The next thing I checked was, so much happens in my days, but I wish I was making more progress on what matters in the big picture. Sometimes this fall, especially, I know I keep saying it, I felt so completely busy. Our time has been so regimented. I haven't had any free time, it seems. By the time the end of the day comes around, I'm exhausted. I can't even have a conversation with my husband because I am so overwhelmed and have had so much stimulus over the day. I'm an introvert and a highly sensitive person, so when that happens, I just kind of shut down almost, and I can't be productive or build relationships or anything. And that's kind of how it's been for the past several months, which is, crappy, but it is what it is. It's something that I need to work on. Again, it is something that I will work on in 2022. But all of those little things that maybe aren't as important in the long run for me personally or my family, those are the types of things that I struggle with and I always have going on in my brain. And I wish I could make different choices so that I would be able to work more on the big picture goals rather than just trying to move to the next thing to survive. And so when I say I wish, I really do need to make some changes, and I am excited about those changes. It's going to be a big difference, I think. It's going to make a big difference. So we'll see. And then the last thing that I checked is I want to make my days count. It's the most important thing, relationships for me. I want to make sure that's what matters the most. When we're going constantly and not able to really take a breath, I'm not improving the relationships in my life. Instead, I'm just trying to move to the next thing. And so that is something that I want to work on in the new year. The big picture, this really doesn't change for me. Most years, I write the same things down. What will have mattered? The relationships with my family and friends and the memories of the experiences and traditions that we have. Those are the things that matter most to me above everything. So when I say what won't have mattered, it's literally everything else. Everything else is, helps build experiences, yes, to a certain extent, but the most important thing is the relationships, especially with my family. That's what matters. And so making the decisions to build on those relationships is the most important thing to me. So I wrote, setting up my life to be able to concentrate on those relationships is what needs to happen. So I just really try and put that at the forefront of our life, and it's part of the reason that I homeschool, because I want to build a relationship with my kids, and that having that time together is one way that I do that. The next section says, who do you want to be? What character traits do you hope shine in you? And so some of the things that are important to me are encouragement. I want to encourage others, knowledge and wisdom. I want to be a lifelong learner. I want to be known as a loving person, especially for my kids and my husband. So those are the things that stand out to me. That's what I want to be known for. So this next section is this big picture vision. And this is a new section this year, and I struggled with it a lot. I have really struggled with these 8 areas of goals, I guess, that they have put into the PowerSheets this year. I talked about this a little bit in my vlogs. They have moved to really filter the prep work through these 8 areas, and I don't use these 8 areas to write out my goals. I love that there's the Cultivated Life Evaluation, and that at each seasonal refresh, you have a chance to sit down and evaluate those 8 areas and how you are doing in those areas. But I don't write my goals based on these areas. There are some other things that I find important that are not on here, specifically home and homeschooling. I usually write goals in those 2 categories. And could I filter those through some of these other categories? Perhaps, but my mind just hasn't really worked with these 8 categories very easily. So the 8 categories are health and wellness, focal relationship, friends, family, finances, work and learning, spiritual and personal growth, and recreation. So what they want you to do here is, what is your big picture vision for each area of your life? Write out some thoughts about what you want to grow in the long term. So they want you to kind of write down what you see as your long-term goals in this area. What is the big picture? How would you be in your perfect world, I guess, in these different categories? And I think that's good if you struggle with coming up with different ideas for goals, or if you don't have any ideas going into goal setting. I tend to have some ideas as I'm going through the prep work already, and when I go through the prep work, it helps solidify those ideas. I have my little notebook that I brain dump in all of the things that I hope to do, and then I consider what I've written in the prep work to help me move forward and write out my goals. So I did write this, but I'm not usually thinking about goals for these areas. So I will share those with you. For health and wellness, I want to be healthy and happy. Focal relationship, that's my husband, obviously. Great communication and fun together. Friends, fellowship and living life together. Family, close relationships and balancing everyone's needs and wants. Finances, financial freedom, being completely debt-free. Work and learning, fulfillment and always learning new things. Spiritual and personal growth, strong faith and joy in my Creator. Recreation, adventure, and memories with family. So those are pretty broad, basic things. And I feel like a lot of those are already things that I'm working on in my everyday. I don't necessarily have goals attached to some of these things. So then it says, living it out this year, knowing what matters in the big picture. How can you live like it this year? So I gotta look at my categories. So for health and wellness, I wrote getting outside, gardening, laughing, journaling, slow food. For my spouse, date nights, meetings. Meetings are really good for me, like budget planning meetings, creating a cultivated year calendar. Friends, monthly dinners, small random acts of kindness, texting, encouraging words, writing cards. Family, continue to foster traditions and rhythms we can rely on, working together on projects, things like the garden, and we really want to get chickens again. And my 2 older kids are super interested in entrepreneurship, and so I'm trying to foster that and help them with some of their ideas, which sometimes are super big, lofty ideas, which are good, but they don't know any of the steps to get there. Finances, budget, sinking funds, spending tracker, evaluating every purchase, maybe a no spend year, maybe just some no spend months, those types of things. Work and learning, create systems to ease into content creation, manage what I already have so it isn't overwhelming. That's really like my blog when I've talked about all of the many posts over the past 10 years that I've written and need to go through. Spiritual and personal growth. So there's a 90-day chronological Bible plan that I want to do, reading through the Bible chronologically in 90 days. I've done it in a year a couple of times. I really like reading through the Bible chronologically. It makes so much more sense to me. That is what it is. Working on my prayer journal. I have 2 prayer journals from Val Marie Paper that I got this year. I do want to do a walkthrough of those, so I probably should think about doing that. But this is, I think, the 3rd year that I've gotten a prayer journal from Val Marie Paper. I really like the idea. Prayer is something that I've wanted to work on, that I've tried to work on. I need to work on it more. And then I have a couple of books that I really want to get through. One is, what is it called? The first one is Church History in Plain Language, and it's I think like 600 pages. So I was trying to think, well, maybe if I could read like 5 or 10 pages a day in the morning, that would help get me through that book. And then I do have another couple of spiritual type books that I want to get through. So some of these ideas are goal related, like the garden, like some of my reading through the Bible stuff. Some of the friend stuff is goal related. Finances, the budget, sinking funds, those are all things that I do already. They are things that I'm going to work more on and need to develop into more action steps, which obviously we will do later as I get into writing my goals and such. But like I said, filtering my goals through these 8 areas has been a little bit challenging this year. Then the next thing, this is one of my favorite pages in the prep work. It is my cultivated year, what I'm saying yes to and what I'm saying no to. So I always think that this is a really good thing to do. It's something that I did, maybe in 2010, 2009, I think. Around then, I had read about making a yes and no list, and it was based on family. What are the things that you want to say yes to, and what are the things that you want to say no to? And writing all of that out ahead of time gives you the permission to say yes or no in the moment because you've written it down, you've made a commitment to yourself to say no to some things, even if it sounds like something great or you feel guilty about saying no, you've already committed to saying no to that thing. And so I think it's a really great way to make progress in the life that you want to live. So what I'm going to say yes to this year: margin, an open homeschool calendar, AM and PM routine, walks with my kids, hobbies. My hobbies are number 1, reading, number 2, knitting, and number 3, sewing. Knitting and sewing I have not been working on as much in the past, probably 2 to 3 years, but they are things that I love and want to get back to. Reading is one that I have done extremely well this year, and I'm not going to stop reading next year. I'm going to keep going because it's something that brings me a lot of joy. Growing our own food, simplifying my life, decluttering, paying down debt. We only have a little bit of debt left, a student loan that just is a persistent, nagging thing. Considering our time and money, rhythms, regular writing time. I used to be really good about writing every single morning, whether it was a blog post or journaling. And over the past, pretty much since everything shut down, I have not been in a good writing routine. Part of it was when everything shut down, everything was just chaotic and I didn't feel like I could sit down and really write that much, and I probably should have journaled through the whole thing. that it would be interesting to look back on. And I did write some, but it was not a regular practice. And then we had months and months of chickenpox and shingles, and then it was just crazy in 2020. And 2021, it continued to be crazy. It's just been a crazy couple of years. So I do want to get back to regular writing time. It does help me process. It's something that I do need to do. The next thing I'm saying yes to is putting the growth of my business, Townsend House, on hold in favor of streamlining and making some adjustments that need to be made. You know, when you have a business, you're constantly focused on growth, but I think I need to take a step back and work on what I already have in-house and try and just make it better. I have talked a little bit about wanting to do a redesign, and so that's something I need to think about, and I have a bunch of stuff that I need to get to before I can even get to that point. So if I'm not focusing on growth and I'm focusing on back-end work, it makes it a little bit easier. I have to give myself permission to do that. The next thing I'm saying yes to is keeping my planning days, which I did a really good job with at the beginning of the year and through the summer, but then as we got really busy in the fall, I was still doing my planning, but it was kind of sporadic. It was not on my specific day that I had planned, and I noticed more stress and things kind of falling through the cracks when I don't take that time, when I don't keep the appointment with myself, so I need to keep doing that. And then I also want to have more meetings with my husband for budget, because I have some big financial goals, and it helps me obviously to talk with him about those things. And then also my meetings with the kids for homeschool, getting into our Monday meetings, which we haven't really done for, you know, like the 6 weeks before we got into our winter break. We're on winter break right now, so we don't need to have any Monday meetings at the moment, but I wasn't sitting down with them because we didn't have time in the morning to sit down on a Monday to go through what we had for the week. So I need to get back into a better routine for those meetings. It makes our weeks go by much better. And then what I'm saying no to: stress, guilt, and unhealthy habits, which kind of relates back to my food prep stuff. When I don't prep things ahead of time, I end up just grabbing whatever the kids have been eating, or, you know, getting takeout because it's easier, even though I don't even really like takeout, so but it's easier and I don't have to make a meal, so, you know, you gotta weigh that both ways, I guess. The next page is Imagine It, Your Intentional Year. And this page is kind of, you know, it has blank spaces and it tells you the pages that you want to look at in order to fill out these blank spaces. Now, I did not pull from a lot of these pages because what I had written on the page maybe didn't apply in this little blank space, you know, when I don't have issues with comparison or I'm not putting myself in an identity box. So I kind of went through and just wrote out what I felt. So I say, my name is Heather. I am excited about the year ahead. I'm capable of change, and I'm deciding that I can. The areas of my life that most need to be cultivated are, and so this is where you would look at that cultivated life evaluation and see which areas, but I'm not using that to create my goals. So I wrote home, finances, work, and personal goals. In the past, I have used time as a crutch because I feel like I don't have enough. So I tend to not do as much in certain things, or I would not make adjustments because I felt too overwhelmed with all the things that we were already doing. But now I'm ready to lean into the time that I have. My legacy starts today. In the big picture, what will matter is my family and friends and the memories we share. These traits will shine in me, encouragement and love. I'll start living my big picture vision this year by making a plan and putting systems in place so I have more margin, both time and money. I will do this little by little and with big leaps along the way. I want to make what matters happen because I want to continue to live a life of passion that I love. I will live this by saying yes to fun, systems, margin, and hobbies, and saying no to guilt. I will let go of stress and guilt and fill my life with more positive thinking, margin, rhythms, and routines, and adventure. I'm ready, let's do this. So Some of it I took from the pages, some of it I just filled in based on how I was feeling. You can use it however you want. If you want to do it like me, or if you want to follow their prompts and go back to the pages in your prep work, it's up to you. Either is totally fine. Then in this section it says, you know what you want to cultivate, now let's do something about it. And then it says, what do you most want to cultivate in 2022? And I said, I want my home to work for me. I made huge progress in 2021, but there are still things that I need to do. Financial freedom, we need a real plan to get to financial freedom. We moved into our house just a couple of weeks before everything shut down. So all of the plans that we had after we had sold our old house kind of went on hold in favor of other things. So we made a lot of adjustments really quickly, as most people did. So we do need to have a better plan in place. I want to cultivate a love of learning in our home, continue to lean into my passions and my kids' passions, and then living a life I love. That is the most important thing. I did underline a little bit in here. It says setting a goal means intentionally choosing your direction, the place where you want to finish, and most importantly, hindering everything else, distractions, fears, comparison, from getting in the way. And that is how I have really grown to see goals is a direction that I want my life to go in. And so when I set goals, they are not always time bound. I said this in my prep work last year as well. A lot of people will write SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. And I struggle with the time bound thing because I don't set goals necessarily that are time bound. Sometimes there are action steps that are time bound, but most of my goals are sort of like an overall theme that I want to live. So, for example, I know one of my goals this year is going to be financial freedom. It won't be accomplished in 2022, but I hope to make a lot of progress towards that goal. At the point when we have paid off all of our debt and our house and everything is paid for, will we have reached financial freedom? Maybe we'll be more comfortable, but I'm sure, whenever that is, 10, 15 years from now, probably, to pay off our house, it will, there will be something else that we are going to be concentrating on within that financial freedom goal. So when I make a goal, I'm not necessarily saying, this thing I'm going to finish, this goal I'm going to finish at the end of the year. It's a direction that my life goes in, and then I make steps that sometimes are time bound in order to make progress towards that end, towards that goal, but it's never like a finish. When I say I want to grow my faith, there's never going to be an end date to that goal. It's always going to be something that I work on continuously. When I talk about relationships with my kids, it's never going to be finished. It's something that you'll continue to work towards. So that's how I view goals, always moving in a specific direction to live a life that you love, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to line up with what I think is important. It's really what matters to you. And then this is where I really got stuck. And it is this types of goals section. And so this is also new this year. It says your goals may fall into different categories based on the amount and type of effort required and the change that you desire. Cultivating a mix of these 3 types will help you live a balanced and intentional year. So they have habit goals. These actions establish rhythms in your life and create consistency. You may have habits you want to continue growing or habits you want to cultivate. Over time, the small things will become the big things. Every larger goal builds from mini goals and habits that add up. Then the next one is finish lines. These goals move you from where you are now to where and who you want to be. Finish lines might be inspired by key areas of your life that need nurturing. Check your Cultivated Life Evaluation for ideas. They can be completed in the space of a year and are specific and measurable. And then the last one is big dreams. These goals are often new, bold, or life-changing, take extra effort or a leap of faith to complete. These goals may feel thrilling or even a little nerve-wracking to create and leave you inspired at the thought of achieving them. Most of us will set no more than 1 to 2 each year, and they may take several years to complete. And then it says, set your focus, use the grid below to brainstorm and check off what type of goal, if any, might be needed in each area of your life. For some areas, you might choose 2 types of goals, and for others, a goal may not be needed in 2022. And then it has the 8 areas that they have listed in their Cultivated Life Evaluation: health and wellness, friends, finances, spiritual and personal growth, focal relationship, family, work and learning, recreation. And then at the top, it has habit, finish line, and big dream, and then some space to write some ideas in there. So this was a little challenging for me. I wasn't quite sure what to write down in these different areas, because as I'm going through my prep work, I'm thinking more and more about the goals that I will have, and I'm not filtering them through these 8 areas. So I don't know if the prep work is just really not working for me this year, because I've been doing it, I think, for 7 years now. If I kind of just know as I'm going through, and it just prompts me to think about the things that I know I want to work on. But having these 8 areas, while I think that it can be good if you have trouble focusing on goals, or if you're new to goal setting or have no idea where to start, this could be good. But for me, it feels like it's putting me in a box where I have to think about these 8 areas and see where I want to improve in these areas. It's not working as well for me. So I did write a few things in here. They're similar to the things that I wrote a couple pages back when in this big picture vision section and living it out this year. I wrote pretty much the same things. I just categorized them into habit, finish line, or big dream, but I essentially have little things in all of the areas, which I don't think is the right way to do it. So it's been a struggle for me. I've struggled with this prep work this year. I think part of it is because we're in week 2 of kids being sick. There's been a lot of sickness lately, so I haven't had as much time to focus on this specifically, whereas in years past, I've had a lot more time to contemplate and sit down and really think about what I'm doing. I've instead been doing my prep work in like 5 or 10 minute increments of time while I'm running back and forth doing all kinds of other stuff. So that is where I'm actually going to stop for now. That's as far as I've gotten. And then the next section is the rough draft of your goals. I kind of wish this wasn't here because I really want a full page to work on my goals. And what I will do is I will put the categories that I'm working on here, and then bullet point things that I want to do in those different categories. So similar to the Cultivated Life Evaluation, but with my own categories. And those are usually finances, personal, work, towns and house, homeschooling, family, that type of thing. So some of them coincide with the Cultivated Life Evaluation, but some of them do not. That is the next section. And actually, once I do that rough draft of the goals and the yearly goals, I will end up doing my word of the year and then starting on my goal action plans. So I'm not sure if I will get to this before Christmas or if it will be the week between Christmas and New Year's, which is typically when I will set my goals and sit down and do all of my reflections. I need a little bit of a break because it's been so crazy around here with everybody being sick. So that is the end of my prep work, part 2 for my prep work. And I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have questions about any of the prep work or what I am thinking about different sections, please leave a comment or certainly email me. I leave all of my contact information in the description box. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you are having a wonderful holiday season and that you are ready for Christmas and enjoying time with your family. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.